Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and in this video, I want to share with you the secret trick to winning in gacha games. Now, gacha games, a lot of people just think of the word games, and they always focus on full clearing, focuses on big damage to win in gacha games and games in general, and zero turn clears. This is correct in terms of winning the actual game, but in gacha games, it's slightly different from playing like Dota 2, League of Legends, or whatever other game out there. Gacha games are not just a game in itself in terms of like fighting mechanics, but one thing you must consider is actually a resource allocation game. I had to choose a pizza that didn't have meat on it for any of you vegans, vegetarians out there as well, so I wanted something general. But it is in essence, the true essence of gacha games, it is at its core a resource allocation game. If you just think about doing big damage, zero turn clears and full clears, your wallet is going to feel the burn or you're going to feel a lot of FOMO. If you start thinking of any gacha game in a resource allocation mindset, you are off to the start, and that's the first step of the secret formula. Now, in the next section here, what the heck, EOD, what do you exactly need to resource allocate? There are 4 things, and we'll dive into deep each of them, and I'll talk to you about why these are very important as well. But bear with me, let's start things first off with the first one over here as well, which is going to be energy. Now, we all know energy is a limited resource in gacha games. You don't have a lot of it, especially in the early days when you start a new gacha game. You're like, I don't have enough energy to farm my gear, I don't have my relics, I don't have my light cones leveled up and whatever not. Energy is a huge part in the early days. People even refresh to get to like the later adventure rank levels and whatnot as well. It's a huge part. But the argument that I have is energy is not exactly the most important thing in gacha games. As time tends to infinity, you theoretically will have unlimited amounts of energy. Of course, it's exaggeration, right? Time tends to infinity, all that thing. It's just very mathematical. But the truth is, players who have played since day 1 till now, if you are not farming every new set and trying to min-max, you probably have your characters quite well built and energy is probably like lower on your priority list right now. You wouldn't be searching for where to spend my energy on at Internaut level or Trailblaze level, blah blah blah, at this point of time. And that's a huge thing that you need to allocate. So gacha games, early days, energy is super important to know how to allocate. Of course, another thing is time. If you think about it, if your characters, you put every single character with 250% crit damage and 5% crit rate, and you just spam the restart button a billion times or like a million times, exaggerating again, but theoretically speaking, you can hit the scenario where every single of your strike is a 250% crit, but that will take out a ton of time, right? To get like 5% crit rate, 250, and you get the game instance that you hit everything crit damage. Technically speaking, you will need a lot less resources, just focus everything on crit damage. But the reason why a lot of us don't do that, we have good crit ratios, is because time is an important thing. We don't have time to just sit at the computer, the phone all day and restart the floor until we get an optimal one where every single damage is a crit damage instance. That is a huge factor as well. So time is something that we need to consider, and it's another thing that needs to be done in gacha games. But then this comes with like most games will have energy and time aspect, regardless of what game that you play. Where you start playing with other things is actually gacha games in its core. You need to allocate the resources of your pools, which is why you see a lot of guides teaching you, how do I pool for this? How do I pool for that? What exactly do I need to allocate? How much am I spending here? People always decide, is this character or this character worth it? Every single account is different. Each account is very customized, very unique. The situations that you have just get more and more unique as time goes by, because different people have like different eidolons or different characters. In essence, if you FOMO and like pool every single character and don't control your pools, you will start quote unquote losing the gacha game, because you find yourself topping up, you need to spend extra, or you just like, I just can't get a character, I'm boxed out meta, so I lose the fighting aspect, the 1-turn clears and all that kind of stuff. So pools is a very important thing to actually allocate your resource efficiency. So 3 things that need to allocate already. And the last thing, of course, this is not applicable to everyone, but we'll go into the next category, and that's going to be, the last category is money. If you have a lot of money or not enough money, like maybe you're a small spender, you need to allocate the resources of what you want to spend. You'll buy the battle pass, how often you want to buy the battle pass, monthly and stuff like that. I won't touch on more on that, but these are 4 resources that you can allocate in a gacha game. Now, way beyond that, how does that benefit us as a consumer, right? Knowing what we allocate is great, EOD, you're telling me what I can do, but how does that exactly translate to winning in gacha games? And the key secret to winning in gacha games is the framework that is applied. Now, I used to have a bit of a consultancy case background, studied a little bit and did it in a bit of university. So I want to share with you the instructions of what I've learned there, put it in a framework and give it to you as well. I am a finance major and working in the industry for quite some time myself, which is why I love this kind of allocation, resource, efficiency, economics, talking about business sense of Hoyoverse too. First thing, very important to know, there are the decision-making framework, I applied this to Honkai Star Rail's case, is split into two different categories. One is the rational part of things, which is logical. You're deciding between two factors. We have no bias, no waifu, no husband, no, straight away it's just the facts. That is one of them. The next one is of course a little bit more emotional. Each of us have our own preferences. We have different account states and we also have different, I wouldn't call it irrational. Irrational is like without logic, right? But emotional is still grounded, it's still logical, is still grounded by emotions, but it's opposite categories altogether. So the first one that I want to touch on here is a top-down analysis, and there are two ways of looking at the game. So what exactly the heck is a top-down analysis, EOD? So the top-down approach looks at the game from a big picture and then you start building down. When you talk about the overall game state, you start to see the different categories of the games where everything is falling into. Currently, as of time of recording, we don't have the new styles coming in at all. The 8 styles of Honkai Star Rail, this is how the game is split down. If you talk about the entire game state, you go one step down, you will have 8 teams that pretty much dominate any single playstyle of the meta, regardless of what phase you're in. So the top-down approach is important. Why does it benefit us and how does it help us win? Is because if you have a team for most of these categories, regardless of whether they are very, very well invested or they are quite built, you would be fine with most of the content. You would pretty much win the combat scenario. And once you have everything checked out, all these boxes checked, you will be able to tackle a lot of content and you will easily save a lot of resources because you now know what you need to pull, you now know what you don't need to pull, so you can allocate those 4 resources very efficiently and you are like super gung-ho, super good at everything, right? You know how to easily win the game and save a lot of resources, so you're one step ahead. So for those of you who don't know like what these teams are, basically there are different types. So follow-up attacking is like your counter teams like Yunli, you have your Fei Xiao, Topaz, Nami, Robin kind of team combinations. Break, we all know Firefly, Boot Hill kind of break would run me and Harmony MC. Fast and often is like Fei Xiao here. Different characters plays into different teams. I put 2 of them here as an example of Robin and Fei Xiao who plays into similar teams. If you want more detail, I covered it more as we always do on the channel. We cover a broad range of topics. So not just talking about meta, one turn clear, beat the game, best characters, best builds and stuff. We want to do a bit more because Gacha Games is more than just a game in essence. But check this video out if you're interested for those of you who want more top-down analysis of the game. But naturally, the next step, top-down, want to make a guess what's the next one? Is going to be quite intuitive at this point. It's going to be a bottom-up. So now that we look from the top-down perspective, you look at the big picture, right? You see the huge earth, you zoom in, it's like you see islands, you see continents and stuff. Now you want to go in the micro things from the bottom up, which is your organisms or human beings, and then slowly making your way up into what that becomes. So although we haven't done too much bottom up because Honkai Star Rail is out for a while, this is much better done in the early parts of the game where you want to build your Lego bricks from the ground up. It's really a bottom up approach. It's looking at intrinsic value of characters. So this is in our Zenless Zone Zero channel. So all the concepts you can see here applies to any gacha game you can do, and your frameworks, the logic will help you in any sense that you do, even though we are specifically talking about this in the context of Honkai Star Rail. So here's an example. Characters, every character has a DNA, a genetic makeup. They will always have certain categories that they build into, and they will form a certain intrinsic value that they overall have. So here's an example of like one character. I'm not going to talk about meta or anything, but it fulfills certain criteria, and when you fall into certain criteria, they each have individual rankings, and that together makes up the overall bottom-up approach, intrinsic value of characters. How good is Fei Xiao, how good is Robin is depending on the stats they have, the traces, the nodes that they have, how much base attack, how much base speed. That is why all these bottom-up intrinsic value is very important that a lot of people need to consider as well, which we also do on the channel too. So that is the next part, bottom-up approach. Now, talking about the rational part of things is fun. But how about the emotional part of things, which is truly in essence, if we just think about the rational, logical, this is the decision making you need to do this, then that, it's not going to really work too well, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. You and I, we make mistakes too, because we are like slightly torn. We like this character more, we like this character more. Maybe sometimes we do less optimal things, because sometimes it's just tiring being like 100% optimal bot all the time, right? So emotional is a huge factor in it. And the first thing, of course, comes in style bias. You ask anyone on the street, they will never tell you a definite answer. We have here, of course, one video that we put out already, horizontal versus vertical. This is an example of a style bias. There are so many biases in terms of like emotional style biases, but one of them is, do you prefer playing many characters all at E0, S0, or do you prefer like double down and go very deeply in one? Huge difference, right? Depending on what you're going for. Is there a right? Is there a wrong? Technically speaking, both can work if you do it properly. So style biases does affect recommendations and how people consider, which is why you see there are some videos on like E0 to E6 comparison, which we do on the channel, like for Fei Xiao, for also like Akirion and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean everyone should get Eidolons. In fact, we've already put out videos on the channel discussing the importance of Eidolons. Both style works, and it's very important. If you want to win in gacha games, you need to know that depends on the game. Some games require you to be a bit more vertically invested. Some games require you to be a bit more horizontally invested. The nice part about Honkai Star specifically is you can do both. It suits a lot of players. That's why your player base is so large. There are so many different styles of playing. You even have like E0, S0 players all over the place. So it is very possible to run with both, and I just want to share with you. So rest assured, you're in good hands. On this channel as well, we'll cover a lot of content to give you as much information of ways of thinking the game. And of course, if you're finding value in this video so far, do give us a like, comment, and subscribe for more of such future content. As you can tell, our channel likes to do a bit more than just talking about meta, game state, theory crafting. We also want to give you a bit more tools to not only benefit you in Honkai Star, but also take beyond you in your life, in whatever other games that you play, gacha games, whatever it is, help you win in the whole series of gacha games and in general. The last but not least, the category that I think is quite interesting, which we actually talk about a lot, is the house rules. At the end of the day, we are playing not by the rules of what you and I decide. I think Jingyuan is number one, so he's going to be the best character in the game because he has the best stats. At the end of the day, the monetization criteria and the decisions of how characters perform is largely determined by what Hoyoverse prioritizes, depending on what they want to do. We have better investment videos here. I'm not going to talk about these two characters now. This is just an example. But we talk about better investment on our channel a lot on two different characters. And one of the categories that we always talk about in this section, in this video, we cover everything that we talk about on this channel, like investment videos that we do on the channel. We talk about game state, we talk about beyond that, and your account specifically, vertical, horizontal, whatever. These are like very comprehensive. So in the potential section that we talk about, we discuss what is Hoyover's tendencies, what do they want to do, what are their priorities. You have a theoretically difficult character to an easy character to power creep, but yet every single patch is getting buffed with like new sets, new teammates, new buffing. Jingyuan is an example of a character that has withstood some sort of test of time by favoritism. Topaz and Nami is another example that is doing like super well. So those are two characters that defy the odds because of house rules, how they decide the things. You and I don't decide that, but it is what it is. And another thing, of course, is their monetization strategy, which I will do another video talking about the key differences in Hoyoverse's monetization strategies and things that I want you to take a look out for. So stay tuned on the channel for that. It's beyond the scope of this video. At this point, of course, if you're watching this, if you like the format, we actually do have our EOD Money channel, which I share with you like more of my experience as a major finance professional as well. I learn a lot of things and apply them to the real world, making money in Steam, stock market, whatever not. If you're interested, check it out. Otherwise, thank you for being here, and hopefully this video helped you a bit. If you're interested, you want to share with more of your friends who are also interested in know how to win in gacha games, share it with them so there will be less FOMO when making the next pull for that 0-turn cycle and E6 DPS that they are trying to go for. Anyways, thank you guys again so much for watching. It's me, EODGamer here, tripping on my words, signing out.